She's probably somebody's new. Travis went good song. Bill Maher. He's brokered peace deals with QAnon, Trump, and now space aliens. The Twilight Zone. I don't memorize, so I couldn't give you the full Twilight Zone intro. But nonetheless. Great classics, American pop culture. Bill Maher has exposed the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints yet again. He just doesn't realize it because he doesn't make the connection. The press has exposed the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. They just haven't made the connection. The government has exposed the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. They just haven't made the connection. In the state of Utah, the press are not allowed to investigate. Fox 13 News Utah used to investigate the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and then the church stole all their people to KSL, owned and operated by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Yeah. QAnon called this great conspiracy space aliens, the elite rich pedophile satanic worshippers. I've been trying to tell you the whole time, it's the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. The planet Kolob, Battlestar Galactica, Kobol, just switch the B and the L around, written by a Mormon. Council of 12, from outer space coming to Earth, 13th lost tribe, or the 13 tribes, and 12 of them are lost. Yeah, Mormon. Glenn A. Larson. Or was it Glenn L. Larson? Or was he the 70? We're all related. Nepo. We're all Nepo babies. Except for those who get into office in the church. They're the elite Nepo babies. The rest of us Nepo babies, yeah, we're down at the bottom. And so yes, the elite, oh my hell. The whistleblower in December 2019. He opened up a bombshell on this church. And it's bigger than what he exposed. Bigger than what he exposed. The SEC fined the church for just Ensign Peak Advisors' failure to disclose stock information. Just them. Ensign Peak Advisors is not for fast offering, not for the temple donations, not for Book of Mormon donations, not for missionary donations, not for philanthropies or LDS charities, or. The church has dozens, over 3 dozens of different sources of revenue. Each one has their own LLC company that does the exact same pattern. And the whistleblower exposed the one for tithing. I saw the attacks on my system this morning once I turned on my system. They were stalking and waiting for me to turn it on this morning. And so I purposely tried to have the camera up during all of my other activities to try to alleviate that failure. The church is pissed We're getting to it. It's up on the screen. They know it if they're stalking me right now. So, yeah, space aliens from Kolob, the elite rich, the 1% of the 1%. Every source of revenue has a completely separate, distinct LLC company, and each and every single one of those LLC companies are not spending a single extinct penny that is funneled into it, and they invest it in the stock market. The church is a far bigger investor in the stock market than just Ensign Peak Advisors makes them the #1 stock investor for. Are you not getting this, ex-foes? The church is the richest religion. The church is the richest corporation. The church is the biggest investor in the stock market. And that's just for Ensign Peak Advisors alone. They have dozens, over 3, dozens of different LLC companies for every source of revenue they take in. And they do the exact same pattern. Dozens, people. And so yes, there's money laundering, there's offshore bank accounts, and other dirty deeds done dirt cheap. As you can ask the female president of the Community of Christ, who got robbed. Oh, they raped her good. Because the church would have easily have paid multi-billions of hundreds of billions for just the Kirtland Temple. And they robbed her blind with hundreds of millions. And so yes, space aliens, yep. Elite, yep. Pedophiles, oh my hell. You remember the Boy Scouts, don't you? Hegseth says, we're not going to fund the Boy Scouts anymore because they aren't morally straight. So the Boy Scouts caved, and now they're morally straight again, so that they can keep getting the money from the government. Well, before the government, the Boy Scouts were majorly funded by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Not just supplying the boys, not just supplying the rapist Boy Scout masters. Yeah. Church bailed on the Boy Scouts when they didn't want to pay for restitution for damages that they caused. And oh, the little girls. This infuriates me to no end of how evil this church is. And I haven't even gotten to the satanic worshiping part. It's coming. Right, Sister Freeman? Pure doctrine of Lucifer. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has been sexually abusing little girls from Brigham Young. It's what they do. And they call it religious freedom to rape little girls in harems called polygamy. It's what they do. I am able to put all of these pieces together because of Mrs. Fiskin. As a Mormon boy, yeah, we get confused. Our teachers end up getting called sister. And sometimes our teachers get called Mrs. It's all creepy. And yeah, Mrs. Fiskin gave me an F on my Idaho report in 5th grade. And so I was pissed with school. I wanted nothing more to do with it. If I'm going to do all this memorization and become an A+ student only to get an F on an Idaho report, nobody even knew what Idaho was, let alone Utah. Laura Baker, I'm sure, probably got Idaho or Utah for her paper, but still, nonetheless, I was concerned that somebody else might want Idaho, and I had nothing to worry about. Nobody even knew it existed until they had to memorize the states and the capitals for each state, where they're located on a map. Oh, we have some place named Idaho? Even my basketball coach was grooming me for UCLA. He took me to the campus. I had banquets there. And so upon graduation, my senior year, I tell him that I'm going to Rick's College. And he says, "What? Do they even have a basketball team up there?" Yeah, well, you're going to find them in the Final 16 or the Sweet 16 for the women. But yeah, they do, but yeah, it's an elitist club, and they purge people from it. So yeah, I didn't even get an opportunity to try out. Apparently there's this thing called red shirting that I was completely oblivious to. So I never even got to try out for the team. Nonetheless, that was the end of my basketball career. And so in the basketball banquet that was held, he gets up, and my parents are sitting right next to me, by the way. He's pissed with me. He's furious. And he's letting everybody know at the banquet, standing up. Travis could have gone pro. And yeah, they put high school kids into the Lakers. So yes, he knows what he's talking about. And here I was going to Rick's. Ruining my career. Paleo Hebrew, what the hell is that? Yeah, I've been a target of the church ever since. But Joseph Smith and the Book of Mormon are true. Not for this church. You have to deny Joseph Smith and the Book of Mormon. So we're getting off topic here. There's no script, in case you don't follow me regularly. I just have notes. Mormons are not Mormon. They don't follow Mormonism. They don't follow the scriptures. They don't study the scriptures. They don't believe in the scriptures. They don't believe Joseph Smith. They don't study Joseph Smith. They don't follow Joseph Smith. They don't even remember Joseph Smith. They don't remember the anniversaries or the bicentennials. The bicentennial for the first vision was all that we got, and it was just one evening for one session for one talk. Technically two, with the Relief Society president who interviewed the president who showed us how to use rocks in a hat, and he couldn't even figure it out. Something like this. Just talk to me about it. I've got the rocks, I've got the hat, I plug them into my computer to show you the pretty pictures. I've got some pretty pictures for you for this morning's video. It's all true. But Mormons don't give a damn about Joseph Smith or the Book of Mormon. They lie. Yeah, Lucifer's exclusive Mormon doctrine, the father of all lies. Yeah, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. That's who they follow. That's who they worship. Lucifer. And so, yesterday, on the bicentennial of the Kirtland Temple dedication, you'd think Mormons would at least be curious and want to check it out because they're Mormon. Nope, I got a whole bunch of thumbs down of Mormon haters. Bleep you, Travis, church is true. Excuse me? The bicentennial of the Kirtland Temple dedication, and I'm wrong? I'm the enemy? Are you familiar with Matthew chapter 7 about falsely judging people with a beam and a mote? No? Yeah. Christians, if there are any Christians in the audience, as you go to verse 15 in that same chapter, and yeah, it's plagiarized in the Book of Mormon, 3 Nephi chapter 14. Mormons don't care. They don't believe the Book of Mormon. How do you know when somebody's lying to you? By their fruits. That's science, by the way, in case Christians didn't know that either. Mormons deny science. Spiritual method. We pray and get the right feeling. And so instead, when somebody says something, you're supposed to scientifically, linguistically, test the word for truth. You run a test to produce the results of the word. Now, this is intended for children to learn about life and existence, and so that by the time you're an adult, you've already learned the truth about a megapixel of stuff, so that you don't have to keep wondering if something is true still. By our age, yeah, it's the rare word that you've never heard before that you would then run that test for. But you're living your life knowing what truth is from lies by running this Bible test, which is plagiarized in the Book of Mormon, so that you will not be deceived when somebody comes along and lies to you to steal your money, destroy you, murder you. John chapter 10, verses 1 and 10. Thank you, Oaks. Yeah, steal from you was the other one that's also in there. People who are not authorized to be leaders, who lie for who they are. And so, yes, the church, still, even late night, the church still did not post anything about the bicentennial of the Kirtland Temple dedication. And even though it's not a bicentennial, it was 190 years, so what? It was an anniversary. And the church skipped it. Church wanted nothing to do with it. I did something about it. I covered the full dedication. And I notified my viewers, who all put thumbs down, that there's a spoiler alert at the end of the 3 hours. Brigham Young ruined it. That bleep and bleep bleep. Joseph Smith, all throughout the whole thing, masterfully coordinated, correlated, whatever you call it, for movie making, for conferences. Because this coming week, yeah, it's dress rehearsal, makeup, test runs for conference. So they're not going to be holding any meetings this week. Oh no, Travis can get away with a whole bunch of videos and they'll never know. So yes, they know about this. They won't talk about it. Section 109 of our Doctrine and Covenants, put in the last year of Brigham Young's death of life, was just Joseph Smith's dedication talk. And so I go over the whole thing with the hymns that were used specifically for this. The hymns were a part of the dedication. And so yes, the Mormon anthem, the Spirit of God, with the missing stanzas 4 and 5. The church does not want Mormons to know this specific Jewish information. They lie, claiming to be Christians when they worship Lucifer. So back to pedophiles. The church used to be involved in adoption agencies. June 27th, 2014, the church quit. Ryan Morganegg. There are very few Morganeggs in this church. And I know 2 of the daughters and their parents. From my mission in New York, and Poughkeepsie. So yeah, I don't know where Ryan fits into this family. Whether he's, it's 2014, so he's got to be an adult working for the church news of the Deseret News. But he could be a young guy, graduated from BYU, rather than going to Rick's College like the oldest daughter did. And I met her there before my mission. And so when I got out on my mission, the Morganegg family said, "Oh yeah, our daughter went to Rick's." "Oh, really?" "Oh, yep, that's her. I know her." "Yep." And so, yep, I know the Morganegg family very well. Whether they want to remember me or not, that's another issue. Especially the younger daughter, who most likely is married and has 15 kids by now. Nonetheless, memories on the corner of my mind. So whether he's a son of one of the Morganegg brothers from the family, or whether he's one of the brothers, I don't know. Nonetheless, he exposes the church bailing on adoptions. 27th of June, 2014, 11:20 a.m., Mountain Daylight Time. LDS Family Services sets new policies on adoptions. That's because on that morning At 10 a.m., they held a meeting, and in that meeting, they decided to dissolve it. So at the end of the meeting, at 11 a.m., they then released it to the press, Deseret News, that they are quitting. They're no longer involved in adoptions. And to show you the number stats since the 70s, 1970, when it was organized for adoptions, God, my birthday, they were trying to adopt me out for my birthday. Isn't that fun? So yes, I'm learning a whole bunch of stuff about how the church wanted to have me murdered as a baby. You're supposed to wait 2 years after. Include Todd. Well, you did, I guess, by going after me first. Nonetheless, they know the date for my regular viewers who watch and know what I mean by this. Or the rest of you are sort of going, well, there's this Jesus guy of scriptures who was going to be assassinated, and yeah, that Moses guy too. Have a talk with Maher on this. Bible's not true. And Dorothy Murdoch exposed that the Bible plagiarized, just like the Book of Mormon plagiarizes the Egyptian documents and other previous religions before Constantine created Christianity and stole the Jewish documents and compiled them into the Bible that we know today. But we're not here to discuss that topic again. Nonetheless, 800 to 2,000 single expected mothers. They say parents here, Ryan. Only women can be pregnant. This is women. And dare I say, little girls. Per year. 800 to 2,000 little pregnant girls, all by themselves, per year. And adoption services for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, now just called family services, for the other big scandal, had child trafficked, because that's what this is, 300 to 600 of those 800 to 2,000 babies per year. This is horrifying. That the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints was involved in baby trafficking. Now you need to understand how the church rapes little girls. Pedophiles, remember? There were thousands of rape kits that just the Salt Lake City Police Department refused to process. If you remember the Me Too movement. Thousands of rape kits that they refused to process. So that the statute of limitations would run out and those girls would have no recourse. We just had a big scandal yet again of a BYU football player as a rapist. A previous football player, who was the starting quarterback, whose life was destroyed, was a false accusation. Because it's so common in Utah, certainly people believe the woman, not the man. And so she thought she could accuse the starting quarterback of raping her because he didn't want to marry her. So she destroyed his life. He was excommunicated, removed from the team, and he had to flee the state of Utah to go to another state to play on their football team. All because he was falsely accused, huh? Yep, Corey Richins. The big trial going worldwide. Yeah, what was she found guilty of? Adultery. Was that what she was charged with? No. She was charged with murder. And the Mormon jury said she's guilty of adultery for the money. No, that wasn't the charge. Did she murder her husband or not? The defense counsel made it very clear. Yeah, the guy she was cheating with murdered the husband so that he could be with her with the money. She had nothing to do with it. She wanted nothing to do with him after the murder. So that kind of failed for him. But he got his revenge. She's going to prison. He's not. Tyler Robinson. Oh my hell. Jack Bauer of the United States of America comes out on Tucker Carlson's show and says, yeah, Governor Cox shut me up and kept me out of the investigation. Tyler didn't do it. There are too many questions that have gone unanswered. Tyler Robinson didn't do it. Candace Owens has been saying that. But some one guy who's a deeply criminal sex abuser of little girls also comes out on a podcast saying that nobody's going to listen to a black woman, no matter how accurate she is, because she's a black woman. People just say, black woman, screaming, hysterical. We're not going to listen. And yet, sure enough, she called it. She's got the video evidence. She got a hold of the video from behind Charlie Kirk. She saw that and reported, there's no blood out the back. Well, I could have told you that if you saw the kill shot from the front. Everybody knows that the kill shot came from the right. And thus, C2 vertebrae, as the prosecution explained, thus out the left side of the neck, not the back. So why would she insist that it has to be out the back? She showed the actual video from the back. Sure enough, no blood out the back. Oh, his left hand. Oh, there's blood. Shooter came from the right. So Tyler Robinson was to the right. That's the Luze building. Because that's the building, the roof. We had the video footage of some guy running off the roof without a rifle. Going up the stairs of the Luze building without a rifle. Right? So the Luze building's over to the right of Charlie Kirk. Right? Anybody check a map of the UVU? Where's the Luze building? That way. Thus, Candace Owens, because of the prosecution saying he came from the Luze building, shot him from that direction. Nope. The physical evidence says no. The prosecution is lying. And the defense counsel hasn't figured this out yet? What is the defense counsel waiting for? Why are you still keeping your client locked up in jail? Oh, because you're getting paid millions of dollars? Got boosted from the $1 million you initially were given. Now you're going to get an extra $2 million or so? How long are you going to drag it out? To have your client innocent and locked up in jail. Did you not pay attention to the Corey Richards trial verdict? Mormons in Utah are not going to give Tyler a fair hearing either. The prosecution knows this. That's what they're counting on. The actual shooter got away. And Governor Cox, we got him. We're going for the death penalty. Huh. Interesting. And here, the counterintelligence director, Jack Bauer, said Tyler didn't do it. No duh. So Governor Cox is what religion? The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So is anybody familiar with the church's Fixer Committee? You know, Trump had Michael Cohen. Fixers. They fix things in the church. They all pack heat. They're security guards. Yeah, Oaks, after firing and excommunicating September 6th, came out in Church News, 1993, October, and said, yeah, we have a strengthening church members committee for criminals, apostates, and anybody we deem unworthy. And we go over everything. Back in those days, they didn't have the internet. Now they've got the internet. You just witnessed them spying on me and shutting down my camera. So far, with the little fix that I did, it's back up and running again. Nonetheless, this, they say, is to activate Mormons. Really? Because it sounds like Lucifer's plan of happiness called take away your agency and force people to obey. Yeah, he fired and excommunicated Mormons in the church history department at BYU. Fired and excommunicated, and says, we activated them. To restore them in full fellowship in the church, we excommunicated them and fired them. We financially destroyed them and removed them from the church, giving them the brand of X. And so all the little girls that get raped at BYU and in Utah are given the scarlet R with the attachment of X for Rex. So yeah, RAW, the medical abbreviation for drugs. RX. It's actually A for adultery rather than rape for R. They gave us the axe. So yes, women get blamed for being raped, saying they violated the honor code. If you'd obeyed the honor code, this would have never happened. Excuse me? Rapists don't give a damn about the honor code. Church doesn't care. You got raped, so obviously you violated the honor code. And women get excommunicated and removed from BYU. And they become the single girls, because it's 16 here in Utah, because seminary counts as course credits now. Back in my dad's day, they didn't count as course credits, and so my dad was short on course credits because of his seminary education. So he had to go to the University of Utah, and then met my mom, and all hell breaks loose as the church apparently wanted to have me murdered, involved in child trafficking for these babies who got raped. And so yes, these are girls who got raped. The numbers, 800 to 2,000 girls getting raped every year since 1970. And family services, for their adoption agency, let's see if I did catch it initially. Yeah, it's right here in the beginning. Ryan reports, LDS Family Services recently announced it will no longer operate a full-service adoption agency, but will focus instead on counseling, hold that tab, services for both birth and adoptive parents. So they get both of them. And so the birth parent, yeah, that's the little girl. Little girls are brought in to counseling. This is what they had originally. They still had the counseling. Now they're solely counseling after closing the adoption agencies. And what the news reported is that the girls who get raped and are excommunicated and kicked out of BYU for being raped are sent by their bishop to LDS Family Services. Counseling. Psychology. From World War II Nazi Germany. The human experimentation on the Jews and other inverted triangles designations. We should go over that, because I still have yet to make that a thumbnail picture. Oops, it's no longer in the file. It's probably the original picture. Yeah, it was the original picture. Quick and easy find. I try to make things simpler, and it just creates a bigger mess. So the Jews identified different groups of people who are illegal. See if you can find a pattern match with Trump in his inauguration about designating illegals. Which I warned you about, you didn't listen. Political. Yeah, Antifa, huh? The new political inverted triangle that it was designated with red. Criminal. Yeah. And that's not people who are actual criminals. These are people who are accused of crime. You know, like that adulterous criminal, Corey Richards. Or Tyler Robinson, that furry Antifa terrorist communist. Venezuelan Cuban. Yeah, people getting accused for violations of their created laws. Asocial. Yeah. When you have authoritarian governments, people run and hide and keep to themselves. Oh, now you're a criminal. You're a social. You're not joining us. Then you're against us. A social. Homosexuals, yeah, they get the pretty pink. So yes, pretty pink yesterday in the news. Both Monica and I did find Sarah. Thank you, Sarah. Oh, it was with the e-bikes murdering little kids here in Utah. But there was Sarah standing up in her pink dress. Yeah, I took advantage of that. As I'm planning on you seeing. Thank you, Sarah. So yeah, the Nazis in 1990s, having set themselves up during the 80s, lurking in the background, allowing Die Hard, Lethal Weapon, Terminator to humiliate and disgrace psychology as a fraud that it is from Nazi Germany, began a campaign and triggered by Star Trek Next Generation, or Star Trek Generations, whatever it's called, the series, not the movie, in which Data creates another Data. And one of the other crew members is there walking with Data and the neutered fembot and saying, so what sex are you? And oh no, I don't know, I don't have one. And Data goes, well, I can provide whatever sex you want. And Data has told us that he's experienced in thousands of different sex techniques. So the female character, cast member, tells her, you can be whatever sex you want. Oh my God. Gene Roddenberry would be so humiliated and disgraced if he were still alive. Blame the wife who took over, who became the mother of the counselor. Dear God. And I don't know if it's Deanna Troy who was telling about this or if it was somebody else, but I'm just going, oh my God, that's where it started from. And yep, right there in 1991, when that episode came out. And sure enough, that's when psychologists were now all over our public school systems. And so instead of going to the principal's office, you went to the counselor. And it's zip. Nobody gets to know what they talk about to your little kids. And so both the bullies and the victims of bullying go to the counselor now. And so back in the 80s, I still remember, that's gay. You're gay. You do that, that's gay. Oh, you listen to that? That's gay. You watch that? That's gay. You wear that? That's gay. Gay, 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 gay. Homophobic 80s. Bullies were intentionally doing that to bully other boys. And with girls, lesbians. Oh, you don't want to date me and have sex? Well, you're a lesbian. That's where it all stems from. Bullying. There is no such thing as homosexual. There is no such thing as a lesbian. There is no such thing as the LGBTQIAPO plus in Canada 2S that got created by psychologists. They created it. for your little kids. They didn't organize it into the chain that it became. It all started on an individual basis, separately, throughout the whole nation, telling little kids, well, maybe there's some truth to it. You keep talking about wanting to bleep them up the bleep for bullying you for being gay. I'm not here to judge you. I'm here to support you, little Billy. No relation to Bill Maher. He did the new rules about how we're all supposed to be gay now, years ago. Had that pretty chart. And yeah, notice the dates of when it escalated. The 90s. 1997, autism became a thing. Bruce Willis had that one movie with Baldwin about an autistic boy whose parents are murdered. As an autistic boy, he had a real mental problem. It was not something for a psychologist. A medical doctor is required. There's brain damage for that original autism. It is not asocial behavior autism. Oh. Uh-huh. Yeah. Psychologists created LGBTQIAPO+ in Canada 2S. Whatever the bleeping hell that is. So, Nazi Germany. America won the war with the help of our allied commies. So McCarthy, with the Red Scare, got us back on track to be Nazis, to restore Nazism in America, since the KKK became commies during World War II. Democrats, it was KKK Democrats. That's why we didn't go to the war immediately, because Nazis were our kind of people. Right? Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Moroni and the swastika. And so, after the war, the CIA, Operation Paperclip, MK Ultra, brought them to the United States of America to not be tried in the Nuremberg trials, to escape justice from the Jews who were mass exterminated. It was a genocidal attack on Jews. And yes, there was these other groups too. Because there's Jehovah, the purple. The royal color. So interesting, back in World War II time, boy babies were given pink diapers, girl babies were given blue diapers. But here the Nazis were doing the flip. Pink is now for girls, for homosexuals. Thus the change. And then for blue, immigrants. Yep, all of Trump's illegals listed here. And so Trump also includes Islam, not just Jehovah's. But he backs off on Jehovah's only because of his daughter Ivanka, who married Jared. So even Trump will wear the little covering up of the bald spot hat. I saw that. And yes, that's why he is working with Netanyahu, because Jared is best buddies with Netanyahu. Got to know the bigger picture, guys, especially if you're news catering to your Islamic terrorist base, Anna. I liked you, and then October 7th comes around and oh my God, you're pure evil. Just denialism to the extreme. All because of your base who are Islamists, terrorists. Did you not study and investigate Islam and its origins with Muhammad, the raping of little girls, and his harems? Yeah, that's why Islam and Mormons are the same. They came out with a pamphlet. So true. So true. And so, Operation Paperclip brought all the psychos to America. And a good number of them came right here to church headquarters, Utah, to resume their human experimentations. And thus, the raping of little girls, family services, the adoption agency that started in 1970. Because we got to do something with them. Hey, let's make money off of them. And so these psychologists are counseling these little girls. And they're involved with Big Pharma. Because in case you forgot, that one Bush president who went into Afghanistan after Iraq, after Pakistan. Oh, Afghanistan. Well, shouldn't we be going after Osama bin Laden? Isn't that what you finally realized was in charge of it? And he was involved in Saudi Arabia because the pilots were from Saudi Arabia. I'm confused. Why are we going after Iraq again? Or Pakistan? Or even Afghanistan? All right, the poppy trade in Afghanistan. The laundering of money, the National Guardsman from Riverton, who is now in prison, and his family is getting taken care of by the church. His kids are now all grown up and left the home, so it's just the mother now, and that's assuming that she didn't get remarried and divorce her husband. Family proclamation of destruction by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And he was asking me to join him. Yeah, I knew back then, no. No, thank you. I don't want to go to prison for you. Yeah, he was asking me at church, talking about it and claiming that the temple in Ur of Babylon was the Tower of Babel. No. First of all, it was Beirut, Lebanon. Second of all, Babylon wasn't created yet, if you're going to call this all literal history. That's the Temple of Marduk. It was created when Babylon was created as a capital. God, unbelievable. Get dumb people who become popular and think that they're now the experts in the field. Nonetheless, said, yeah, you should join. This was the pressure that I was getting right before she left me. I already had a job, had the best insurance in Utah because of the church insurance. I was working overtime. I was scheduled to get a pay raise and a promotion in May if I kept on going. And if I was still married and she didn't leave me, yeah, I would have accepted it. And yet, nope. Everybody said I had to do some other job than working for the church. And why? Yeah, I deciphered Paleo-Hebrew. That's why. Her kids are not going to learn Hebrew. I'm now the enemy. I must be destroyed. I mean, activated. So, as a result, southern Utah also were experimented on for their radiation exposure to nuclear testing in Nevada. Let's see how that word of wisdom really works. And so in Utah, Upper Utah, is the psychologist for Nazi Germany. Stanley Smith Stevens contributed, born in Ogden, did his work in Colorado, created the dichotomous and non-dichotomous categorization of human behavior. You can't do that, that's a fallacy. Psychology is a fallacy. Nothing in them is true. Run the test of Matthew chapter 7 or 3 Nephi 14. It's all lies and falsehoods, called fallacy arguments. All of their diagnoses are merely name-calling bullying to say, you're mentally retarded. We're the only ones who can help you with your problem, and you need to pay us. Here's some drugs. Oh, look, you tried going off your drugs, and you're going through withdrawal symptoms. See, we told you you're mentally retarded. Stay on your drugs. Right, Oaks? Oh, when were you put on drugs, Oaks? When was your mother put in the asylum here in Utah? What year? And see what they made you? Psychologists created President Dallin Harris Oaks, aka Isaiah's Lucifer. The Nazis created Lucifer. Remember Satanists? Still haven't gotten to that one yet, have we? We're still working on pedophiles. You need to see the bigger picture that's going on. And thanks to Mrs. Fiskin in 5th grade, I'm brilliant with putting all the pieces together. Bill Maher knew. He reported it. He just didn't know that it's all the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So yes, the drugging, Bush with the opioids from poppies. Yep, pay attention. We go in, take over the poppy trade, and a year later, that's when Big Pharma started pumping out the opioids. And yep, we have a drug crisis in America called the opioid crisis. And Utah's involved in it. You got medical doctors prescribing an overabundance of opioids for people, and there's scammers and drug deals and all sorts of people getting locked up in prison for taking drugs prescribed by their doctor because they got addicted. Yeah, that's a psychological term. You're drugged. That's what it's called. And when you try to go off drugs, you go through withdrawal symptoms. And you need just one fix. Right, ministry? For the New World Order. Right, ministry? Exactly. So Anonymous has Bill Maher talking about the drugging of Big Pharma. In their song, Anonymous on a Mission, Illuminati, You've come to take control. Bill Maher knows, he just hasn't put all the pieces of the puzzle together. He's getting so close. So close, Bill. You're almost there. Almost. Just throw in the church. You had him in your movie. There's the temple right behind you. Zoom in. Zoom into the keystones, Bill. Bill, just zoom in. Right there. There's no wall yet. Bill! It's right there! Look! Zoom in! And that's why they put up a wall. Because down in Southern California, Tom Jones, the born-again Christian, whose church was right there at the corner of Corona High, across the street from our stake center where I went to early morning seminary. Right, Sister Freeman? His pastor had taken a trip to Utah and took pictures and showed those pictures to his congregation there in Southern California. Tom Jones was one of the kids of the parents of that religion. And so he was telling me about it. You worship Lucifer. You got the inverted pentagram on the keystone of the doors of your Salt Lake Temple. I don't know. I'm not from Utah. I'm a California boy who'd been to Michigan for a few years. And then, what are you talking about? We don't worship Lucifer. I don't see Lucifer. I mean, his doctrine, sure. But we don't practice Lucifer's doctrines. We don't follow Lucifer. Oh boy, was I a naive kid. And he was right! So yeah, Peter on a bus to a basketball game. I don't know if he could hear that I was listening to Shout at the Devil. But he too was a part of this congregation and knew that we worship Lucifer. And here I was listening to Shout at the Devil by Motley Crue. Christians tried to come out with To Hell with the Devil by Stryper. And that was a good song, but it's no Motley Crue. Girls, girls, girls. Dr. Feelgood that came out at the beginning of my mission. Good times. So yes, mixing in the Satanism here, still not getting to the girl rape that we're building up to here. And so you've heard about the hotline, right? When a girl goes in and says, I've been raped, the bishop then calls the hotline. Yeah, it's Kirtland McConkie. The legal firm. And they say, take them to family services. Counseling. Now, if you're raped, you're considered mentally retarded. You've been excommunicated, you've been kicked out of BYU, and now you're being called mentally retarded by family services psychologists. And they're tied in to the other psychology here in Utah. Nobody can outdo the church on this. So the University of Utah Psychological Department, directly connected. The psychologists for the church even have extra jobs working for the University of Utah and Valley Behavioral Health. There are most likely other connections, but I have not found those connections yet. I have found the connections of the three big ones. Valley Health, which was Valley Behavioral, which changed from Valley Mental 2014, when the church gave up on on adoption agencies. A new company was taking over, and they were changing the name, and there was mass exodus of employees who were furious by calling it behavioral problems rather than mental problems. They were all educated at BYU to believe in mental problems. And so they were furious with this new change in the name to focus on behavioral problems. And so now they were starting to integrate criminals to be considered mentally retarded. And so in the news, you'll hear about psychology going into the prisons to reform them, just like Alcoholics Anonymous and the rehab counseling as well. All of this is a fraud. Psychology is a fraud from Nazi Germany. Name-calling and bullying with Stanley Smith Stevens' categorizations of behavior. There is multiple causations for a single behavior. That's why you cannot designate behaviors as a mental retardation. Even the American Psychiatric Association tells their people not to diagnose somebody as mentally retarded if there's an external factor for the causation. They will never go into the brain to identify a cause. You can't. Thus, it's a falsehood. Nonetheless, this scam is massive and dominant here in Utah. That's why since 2024, news story after 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 news story is producing the fruits of psychology here in Utah, and they're all going to prison, and the asylums are getting shut down. And they're still desperately trying to break past this to keep it going, to get more people into psychology, to get more asylums here in Utah called centers. And they have homes run by these centers. That's why the church got me booted out of my West Valley apartment, because Valley Behavioral Health owned it, but they were to follow the laws of Utah to allow me, who was a victim of the church for 6 years of my life, activating me for being a translator, and filing a petition for a redress of grievances in the state of Utah. I'm now the bad guy. And so, yeah, after my suing the church in 2020, and obviously I lost, the church still couldn't let it go. They won, and they couldn't let it go. Especially after I found the way to perfection. I know the bigger picture. I know the coup plot that is in progress and still running test runs because, oh no, Trump failed yet again. What a shock. Bleeping hell! Going on another year because Trump yet again failed the church, their overlords and master. God, Trump. So, little girls getting drugged for being raped, to be shut down and shut up. And then we find out that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints got involved in the Epstein files. One of the Epstein files made world news. Oh, look, Epstein had a meet with the Mormon leader. We're not talking a bishop, state president, even a member of the 70. No, it's very clear, the leader. Everybody knows who the leader of the church is. At any given time, Oaks is the leader. And so back then, when the email was typed, there Epstein said, I had a meet with the Mormon leader. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints was directly involved with the Epstein sex trafficking operation to impregnate little girls and then adopt out the babies to the rich white families. And enter stage left, the Huntsmans, Governor Huntsman and former ambassador to China and Russia, with all their adopted children. Oh, there they are in Epstein's little black book. Isn't that great? And then you get Paris Hilton comes out and says, yeah, I was raped by Mormons in Park City's asylum. And they tried to recruit me into the Epstein files. A direct connection with psychology, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and raping little girls and sex trafficking with child trafficking of the babies. So, come to this current day with the Epstein release, people are finding out stuff and investigating. Amazing what you can find when you just simply investigate. The church won't allow investigation in Utah anymore. Remember? They steal your investigators and bring them to KSL to shut them up. And so sure enough, you got the Zorro Ranch down in New Mexico, and Alyssa Grenfell comes out exposing how Musk knows about all of this. That he is the rich elite getting hooked up with girls from a Mormon, so that he can have a harem for after Armageddon? Really? Musk knows about an Armageddon event, huh? An extermination of mankind. And so Musk is raping little girls hooked up by a Mormon to create a legion of his harem to repopulate the earth. Interesting. Because that's the church's philosophy too. Armageddon is coming. We need to restore polygamy for the millennium because the United States was mean and denied us our religious freedom to practice child bride rape for polygamy. Exactly. And so Nelson comes out, teases all the Mormons in the coming days, in the coming day, in the coming days, in the coming day, in the coming days, in the coming day. Oaks then adds, we are one day closer to Nelson saying in an October conference, in the coming day. And then Nelson comes out in April conference 2025. We don't know the day and the hour anymore. Jesus didn't show. Weird. Jesus didn't show, huh? Does it have anything to do with the leak of Oaks in November 2024? A month after, when Mormons came home from vacation and finally found out that Nelson said something in conference about in a coming day, and the one Mormon girl who does YouTube videos went searching the internet and found Sister Jessica's mission website and a letter from her mission president to stake presidents and parents of the missionaries. And Sister Jessica, of course, got one as the missionary, and she posted it on her mission website about Oaks, talking to the new mission presidents on March 14th, 2020. And said in chiasmus, plagiarism of the late war in the Book of Mormon, that they were instead running a test run in 2020. I just served the church on the 24th of February, and here he comes in March 14th saying we're now changing to have a test run instead. Travis busted us. We got to run a test run. Oh my hell! So everything that happened in 2020, everything in 2020 and 2021 was repeated with the second coming of Trump, who was wounded in the White House of his friends. It healed so he can make America great again. Healed. It was blown off. It grew back. It wasn't a dye pack. It was real. He had to wear the patch. It was an assassination of the firefighter, framing a Mormon kid who was in the church news. I can't find that article anymore. I know I saw him. He was in the news for a church news article, and there he was getting accused of assassinating the president when he sucked at shooting. He was a fan of Trump. He bought the merchandise. Yet he's the assassin, huh? A little dorky kid who's a failure. Oh my God. And so, now they're doing a Tyler Robinson thing. Framing and blaming him. Yeah. That's what the adoption agencies were all about. Getting Utah girls pregnant, destroying their lives, stealing the babies, because you're not allowed an abortion in Utah. You're not allowed even contraception or birth control or the date rape drug. But they had to let those go. But the church doesn't like that. And so, yes, Mormon girls are not on birth control. And they go to BYU, not on birth control. The church condemns birth control and condemns victims of rape. And so as single mothers, they then get punished. They are removed from BYU. They are excommunicated from the church. They are sent to family services, to be drugged, to be labeled as mentally retarded. And in steps the legislature to punish them even further if they even dare take care of that baby by themselves. After being told by the counselors, you've got to give that baby to a good family because you're wicked, you're evil. A baby needs both parents, and you are wicked as a single mom now, being raped and now on drugs. This is pure evil that is going on by this satanic church. No duh. And so the adoption agencies are child trafficking, creating the conditions for the money-making business. And this is another separate source of revenue that the church had. And yep, sure enough, even though they're not involved in adoptions anymore, they're still involved with psychology. And yeah, going over the SEC listing for just Ensign Peak Advisors, I can point out all the psychological firms. The church plays both sides to make money. This is a psychological manipulation to divide and conquer. And so you play both sides so that whichever side wins, you're on their side. And you come out on top because you made money on both. And so, yeah, the other crimes of the church pale in comparison to this big one of sexual abuse and deviance. All the women whose lives have been destroyed by this church, and they don't understand that it's the church that caused it, because they have been told that they're to blame, that they were wicked, they were raped by violating the honor code, they wore that certain clothing that showed too much flesh and didn't cover up the underwear if they were old enough to be righteous and get married to a righteous man in the temple who's prostituting you. Yeah, marriage in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints requires payment for tithing for worthiness to enter into the temple, to get sealed in the temple. Thus, prostitution. The man is supposed to be the breadwinner of the family, not the wife. That's the Roman practice of prostitution, not the Greek version that the church wants to promote. You know, the abomination of desolation that the Jews called it when they did it to their Jerusalem temple. And so when you've got BYU and other religious schools, you get kids coming from outside of the state, paying tithing to be worthy to be sealed in the temple. That's now sex trafficking by definition. The church has set all of this up, and all they had to do was not require tithing of its members, just like other religions, to avoid the criminal liability. And they don't want to do that. They want to be criminals. They want to be a mob organization with a front business of a non-existent religion. Yeah, the church isn't true. Not because it's false and lie to us, but also because they don't exist. The Terminator found this out in his lawsuit against them after the 2020 California Prop 8 election. Yeah, the gay marriage agenda. The Terminator sued. And he says in the court filing, government document, there is no church. There's just this corporation. At that time, they had changed the name to the Corporation of the Presiding Bishopric. And then after that lawsuit, would change the name back to its original one by Heber J. Grant in 1923. The Corporation of the President of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. But there is no Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. The United States of America, in a government document, shut it all down for their financial crimes, not for polygamy. The financial crimes made their polygamy aggravated. And so their sex trafficking and human trafficking and child trafficking of the Perpetual Immigration Fund, immigrants, was also shut down by the Edmunds-Tucker Act in 1887. This church is not just criminal, they're a complete fraud. It's a front that doesn't exist. Take that, criminal organizations of Al Capone and his missing vaults. Yeah, isn't that special? So yeah, the inverted pentagram. Mormons worship Lucifer. I have that as a separate video to do. All these scriptures are exclusive Mormon doctrine on Lucifer's plan of happiness for all mankind. We are warned against it in the scriptures, and yet the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints embraces it and emulates it. To get Mormons to emulate it and listen to Motley Crue's shout at the devil. So that they can forbid us from listening to it, so that when we do listen to it, then we feel guilty. Oh, Bishop, I've been listening to Motley Crue's shout at the devil. Okay, we'll hand over the cassette tape, and I'll have to have you punished, put on probation, can't have the sacrament. We'll need to have you see a psychologist, and they'll put you on drugs. Oh, hell no. Shout at the devil all the way, baby. So, originally, I was all alone in the theaters here in Utah to watch The Ninth Gate of Johnny Depp. Until, right at the very last moment, two little Mormon boys who were returned missionaries came sneaking in and sat in the row right in front of me. It's empty! I'm it! This was going to be great! And yet, they came and sat right in front of me. And so I got to watch them too during the movie. And so, yeah, they were all until the end, when Emmanuel Singer reveals her true identity to Johnny Depp. I understand what's going on. I know what she's doing. They, however, were freaking out. What the hell is this? What's going on? I'm scared, Mommy. And that's the church's trap, is that they have Mormons raised to to be criminals, to follow Lucifer's plan of happiness. And they are lied that it's Jesus. We're true, and all of this is literal history, and Joseph Smith was a Satan worshiper, and a child rapist, and an adulterer, and a polygamist, and a murderer, and a criminal. No, it was all Brigham and his Danites. And so Mormons are raised up into this criminal, sexist, racist, abusive, violent rape culture as normal, as God's plan of happiness. And Mormons, even when they are upset, when they find out that Joseph raped little girls, I'm out. Well, he didn't. Brigham Young had his little black book of Epstein files, been trying to get it through to people, but YouTube shut me down with their algorithms, and now they're busted in the courts. Ooh, who's the major funder in Google? Oh, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, huh? Uh-huh. Exactly. This church is the enema of massive proportions. There is no way in hell or heaven, they aren't even allowed in heaven, that this church is true. They even lie about the devil. Pure evil. And so what are you supposed to do with a genocidal organization? See, terrorism? Yeah. It's when you cause the death of a minimum of 4 people. A terrorist act, 4 people die. So, genocide. A high percentage of the population. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints are not just terrorists. They're genocidal terrorists. There's a reason why Governor Boggs of Missouri in 1838, from Thomas B. Marsh, who exposed the Danites, ordered the Mormon Extermination Order number 44. And if by now, over an hour and 40 minutes in, because I have to include the 5-minute or so first part of the video, if you can't figure out that this church is not just evil, but extremist and deeply criminal, that permeates the whole culture of Utah, then yeah, you're a Mormon, aren't you? And you already put your thumbs down and you want to murder me to shut me up. Right, YouTube? Like I said, I'm here in this apartment because I found the way to perfection in 2021. You know, there in October, after conference, after finding the secret combination to overthrow America before conference. And oh, look, there's the Scousins, who were a part of that council to overthrow America. Yeah, Tim LaHaye, the Left Behind series guy. Armageddon. And he created his secret combination to cause Armageddon as his own character, the Antichrist. There is the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints having infiltrated this group through W. Cleon Skousen, the naked communist. His son Mark is now in charge of it, the firstborn birthright blessing. Yep, blame Mrs. Fiskin. I'm good. And I did, when I went in and talked to my patriarch for my patriarchal blessing, who was a family member. He wants to get to know me. Well, so what are you thinking about doing for a career? Because he's got to put it in the patriarchal blessing. I said, well, I was thinking about investigating. I got my license to be a security guard. Skipped basketball practice. Coach had to punish me. So he benched me for 1 minute. So I didn't start. And after about a dozen points put on the board for the other team, all right, Travis, get back in. Thanks, Coach. I've learned my lesson. Heaven forbid I try to find a career after I graduate from college other than basketball. Heaven forbid. Heaven forbid. So, yep. Yep. It's the Nuremberg trials for execution. This is the punishment the church must have. They cannot be allowed to continue to exist. They have to be rounded up. They have to be locked up. They have to be tried, convicted, and punished immediately with the death penalty. All of them that are involved. And it's just too massive of an organization. You know, like the whole nation of Nazi Germany. A war against Utah is required to save America and the world. Their 200-year-old plot is to do exactly what they've been doing. Your lives are suffering because of this church. This is why they keep trying to assassinate me and shut me up. Mrs. Fiskin shouldn't have given me the F. Church is not happy with you. Church is not happy with you. So let's go over this other stuff, because I didn't follow my notes. I just had the notes. Make sure I got everything covered. Try to wrap it up here. Alright, so Bill Maher pleads with Mormon space aliens from Kolob. That's the title of the video. QAnon. Yeah, we covered space aliens from Kolob, Battlestar Galactica, the elite with money in the stock market, all their financial crimes, dozens of sources of revenue, all with the separate LLC companies and offshore bank accounts, pedophiles. Oh, dear God, it's just sickening. Just sickening what they've done to these girls. Oh, I didn't tell you about the Mormon. After the church shut down in 2014, a Mormon from Arizona, who also had ties here in West Valley, had a house in West Valley as well, had gone on a mission to the islands in the Pacific, up by Asia. And after the church quit the adoption agency, he decided to go into the adoption agency because he knows how lucrative it is. And had the brilliant idea, hey, there are lots of raped women on the island where I serve my mission. Let's bring them here to America and adopt out their babies. And then they can be Mormon. Yeah, it was awful. Yeah, he was not as well organized as the church was. So in Arizona and in West Valley, the homes were just packed with these pregnant women. And once they gave birth to the babies, that was it. There wasn't much to get them asylum or get them green cards to be legal. Yeah, it was a whole human trafficking operation for baby trafficking. And yeah, they're pregnant, and so sex trafficking is also involved here to steal their babies and make money off of it through the adoption agency. When humans are involved in making money, government must keep a very close eye on this. Because psychologists have been just utterly destroying the American people. Just awful to allow these Nazis into America. But yeah, the Red Scare paved the way to allow this to happen. After getting them in through Operation Paperclip, McCarthy was the diversion to have everybody focused on communism rather than the Nazis who are now infiltrating America. Dear God. And so yes, Satan worshippers. I mean, the keystone on the doors of the Salt Lake Temple is all you need to know. Bill, zoom in! You're right there! Zoom in! Unbelievable. I saw that part of the movie, and I'm going, oh my God, Bill, you're right there! Zoom in! Okay, so that one. So, the past couple of weeks, it's mostly for last week, but there's some stuff that carries over from previous weeks that I have exposed, that they've exposed, but nobody else is catching on putting the pieces of the puzzle together. The church is the major stockholder. The leak just a minute before Trump came out and said, I'm going to lie about Iran and the deal we're making with them. The church! They're the insiders getting the information from Mormons. They've got Mormons everywhere. And a Mormon knew what Trump was about to say, and they contacted the church, and the church let the stockholders know of the various LLC companies. That's who. And if we had people who knew how to investigate crime, and here I am able to do it. Dear God. I warned them. The church, they're doing it. Pump and dump. They've got the insiders who are making these calls to the church to make the church money. And so yes, in oil and big tech, the church is making the money. Trump is compromised and being used by the church. So, church got rewarded for stealing water. That was a church news video yesterday. The church is causing the drought. They stole the water for Utah. And so, with big oil polluting the earth and causing the heating up of the earth, they're making money off of all of this. They're causing the drought. And so, yes, what businesses thrive during drought? The church owns the stock in them. Just like with viruses. The church is involved in the stock markets, playing both sides. So yes, the vaccine companies, yep, major stockholder, the church. Remember Big Pharma, the church. All of this is from the church. They're behind everything. When is it gonna click into people's heads? Dear God. And so social media being busted. YouTube's community guidelines. Yeah, those are the church's community guidelines. Anti-porn. The doctrine of Lucifer is cover women up and hide them. Lucifer. Christians know this. Even though it's not explicitly said, it's a serpent. Genesis. But for Mormons, it's Lucifer. See, you are naked. Take you fig leaves and make you aprons. Father will see your nakedness. Oh no, Father might rape you in similitude of rape baby Jesus. Yeah, rape baby Jesus of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. For Christians, it's a dove. Bill Maher knows that. Not for Mormons. Heavenly Father. Yeah, the father of Mary, the 14-year-old girl in the Roman period time. He raped her and abandoned her as a single mother. Do you not see the bigger picture? None of this is literal history, but Brigham Young is the evil one. And so yes, YouTube. The church invests in Google, who owns YouTube. And yeah, I think it's from 2014, isn't it? I don't remember the date. But. And so when social media gets busted, the church is profiting off of it by selling the stocks. Yesterday, for the massive sell-off since the war began that the church caused. Bleeping hell. Yeah, on the Dow, 793.47. And then the NASDAQ, 459.724. Even this other thing, the S&P 108, just a complete and utter collapse. Oil is now at 100. We have been warned, if oil reaches 150, all hell is breaking loose around the whole world. A global recession. And the war ain't over yet. Even though Trump is appearing to taco out again because he failed. This is a major crisis that the church has caused. See, they controlled the Nazis. They controlled the psychologists. This is how deep the evil goes. That not even the known worst evil in the world is the worst evil in the world. Because they're all controlled by the church. And I don't understand it. Seriously, I don't. It's just 15 men plus the bagmen of the presiding bishopric. They're all old, frail men. You blow on them, they fall dead. And you're afraid of them? You obey them? Why? Because they say Jesus is real? Where's Jesus? He hasn't shown a test run for Jesus in 2020. Where is he? He didn't show up for the test run. He didn't show up for dress rehearsal. Oh, where was he in 2024? Didn't show then either. 2025, didn't show then either. Here we are in 26. Still hasn't shown. There is no Jesus. How many times do the church have to fail before people catch on? And if you really want more, yeah, Revelation chapter 12, Christians. Yeah, that's the 23rd of September, 2017. That's the coming of the Christ for the latter days. And you thought it was the birth during the Roman period time. Oops. So yes, the church also failed to have Jesus show then too. Because Joseph Smith moves verse 5 to verse 3. He knew the date. But he was talking about a different Christ coming. He showed. He's here. He's trying to save you from Mormon Jesus. And Mormons want him dead because they worship Lucifer. And so, sex crimes. Yep. Drastically increasing. Not just the sex crimes of the psychologists in Utah going to prison. And the treatment centers getting shut down. I mean, asylums. You need to understand, John F. Kennedy, as president, signed right before his death to eliminate all asylums in the United States of America, to shut them all down. After the Nazis came to America, working in the asylums, starting to tell people that you've been raped by aliens and anal probed, and that's why you're pregnant, little girl. Aliens did it. Yeah, little brain chip. Aliens. Yeah. Has nothing to do with the LSD that they gave you to make you believe that it was aliens. Bill. Come on, Bill. Put all the pieces of the puzzle together. Yep, the UFOs, yeah, I don't know why they call them UAEs or whatever crap they're calling them. UFOs, unidentified flying object. Now, is it in outer space that we're seeing them? No, we're seeing them on Earth. In the beginning, our government came out and said it's a weather balloon. Fog. And then they got declassified. Yeah, they were running tests for a new stealth fighter. And so all of the shows for people were to see how it would perform in front of a public audience that nobody will believe and think that they're mentally retarded and need to be seen by a psychologist to be given drugs. Which they were when they got kidnapped and raped through anal probing and chip implantation by the psychologists, performing human experimentations on Americans now and not just Utahns. That's what's going on. And so these new things that are coming out by fighter jet pilots and government officials, as we have camera footage now, still blurred, still don't know what they look like. How convenient. Yeah, they're still doing testing. But instead of the regular populace, who now have greater technologies of cameras and such, they're getting those who are more credible now to see these things, to run the tests for them to tell the public, as it's getting leaked now. It is not aliens. You need evidence. We don't have it. All we got is physical evidence of objects that we can't identify because the pictures are too blurred. And Bill, come on. They're not defying the laws of physics when we can physically see them acting and performing. They're conforming to the laws of physics. Come on, Bill. But I still remember back in when I was going to the University of Lethbridge with the first failed marriage, that sex trafficking at Rick's. She was from Canada. Her parents were also sex trafficked, as her father was from Canada and her mother was from Texas, and they met at BYU and got married here in Utah and had their baby that I married there in Provo Hospital. Yeah. Sex trafficking, it's part of Mormon culture. Prostitution, part of Mormon culture. And there was a bookstore in Lethbridge for Mormons, Mormon bookstore. And I went browsing around one day and saw on the shelf, up at the higher levels, for the rest of you anyway, high level for me, books on how these aliens that people are saying are Lucifer playing tricks on people. This was the early days of QAnon. Alien, pedophile, satanic worshippers from outer space, the elite rich. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And Mormons were publishing books, clueless that their own church was the ones responsible. So yes, this is why QAnon came out, just rehashing the old tales from the original alien sightings, as everybody assumed, which we found out was just new technologies being tested. So yes, to perform the test, you got to see if you can evade and keep hidden among the populace, and so that's why they're running all these testings. So yeah, it's just because we don't have the public technology, you need to understand that the actual technology is already far ahead of what comes out on the store shelves. When a brand new gaming system with AI in it hits the markets, and you can pretend to take out drug boats from Venezuela with it. Oh, you didn't catch that connection? The brand new gaming system of shooting drug boats. Trump shooting drug boats. Maduro came out and said, there isn't anything going on. These are AI deep fakes. You didn't catch on, did you? Remember the ear getting blown off? You're still not catching on? Tyler Robinson didn't do it. The Jack Bauer of America said, yeah, he didn't do it. You're not catching on yet still, huh? Yeah. We don't know what these objects are. We're not able to get a clear picture. They never seem to indicate how big they are. You notice that? Bill Maher showed us attacking one. But we don't know what it is. And everybody wants to jump to the conclusions that it's space aliens. We haven't seen the space alien, despite Fox also doing the alien autopsy. The alien autopsy, did we go to the moon, and Al Capone's missing vaults. First, it assumes that that's an actual alien. And since nobody's actually seen one, yeah, you can do whatever you want. You can make it a lizard creature, no one would know. Dear God. So, come on, Bill. But I did catch Galaxy Guest from Galaxy Quest. So he's playing both sides. Sneaky. Let's get out of here before one of them kills Guy. The historical documents. I catch these things. That was hilarious. Bill Maher is the classic. So yes, sex crimes increasing. No duh, they banned porn from Utah. They banned Elder Packer and his little factory talk. The church is severe sexual abusers, in case you hadn't caught on yet. Not just of girls, but of boys as well. They don't want to teach science. They don't want to teach sex ed. And so, as a result, these psychologists come over. They tell you that all of the church's abuse of boys is true, and that then the girls get raped because of the boys who are being taught wrong, and the girls being taught wrong and become the prey to the boys who are taught wrong, and then the girls get raped and they get busted and fired and excommunicated and kicked out of school and are forced to have the baby, put on drugs, called mentally retarded, all part of the church. This is why they are banning porn, to cause a greater escalation of sex crimes. They know the causation from banning porn. That's why they did it. And then they can get a blacklist of everybody who's susceptible to the banning of porn and have compromat over you, just like the honeypots of Russia. Cute little Russian girls getting put on camera with certain key people to control them. That's what the church wants to do. Remember Lucifer's plan of happiness? Taking away agency and controlling people's lives, telling them exactly what to do for every single part of their life. That is the church. It is blatantly obvious, and it has become so ingrained in this culture that Mormons don't see it and then act as criminals against others who try to warn them of this. And so, okay, adoption. Yeah, the church is abandoning Mormons, not just murdering Mormons and the rest of the world through this war and through the economic crises and the natural disasters that are escalating in severity. I've exposed that the church, with the Oaks' statement to tell Mormons in the Middle East to stay where you are because it's safer in the war zone. Really? People fell for that, did they? The news did. I don't get why people don't understand that this church is pure evil. I understand that the press are threatened by the church. Their lives are on the line, and maybe that's why Mormons are too, because of September 6th. They destroyed their lives, raped girls, lives destroyed. I mean, activated. This church isn't involved in helping people prosper. That's the trap for converts. Look at these missionaries. They're so young, and look at the nice fancy suit they got from Mr. Mac. Don't you want to be a Mormon and prosper like us? And then they join the church, and then the church takes their money, and they're even deeper in poverty, especially in the third world countries, where the church exploits them. And then Hinckley comes out with his Perpetual Immigration Fund Revisited 2.0, the Perpetual Education Fund. So now we get to do slave trafficking around the world with the Perpetual Education Fund. And they have to do the token person to be successful in order to say the whole thing is successful when it's failing miserably. But the church is making a lot of money off of it. Another source of revenue, remember? And so, yes, abandoning Mormons with the fuel shortages, the war zones, the economic crises that's going on, the natural disasters that are happening. The church is abandoning Mormons, leaving them to die. And tithing is first. Pay your tithing first. Despite the financial crisis, pay your tithing first. God must be paid. That's a mob tactic. Yeah, I don't care if your business is struggling to make money, you got to pay us. Yeah, it's a criminal operation. No duh. Mormons don't see it because they're raised in it. So, stealing fuel from third world nations. New temple! Here's a new temple! Yep. And after Oakes came out and confessed that Travis was right, the church expected Jesus to show, and he didn't, and so we'll slowly resume rollouts of stuff. So Anderson is coming out in May for the young adults, if Trump fails for Easter. Which he's well on his way to failing, other than the economic crisis. That's still well underway. He's still sending over troops for Iran, but he's claiming he's giving them further time until after Easter now. But still, Israel is still going on. They're still counterattacking. Other Islamic nations are now starting to get involved, but God, such incompetence. So this is the problem of having other people do the job for you, but not telling them the bigger picture of what you're wanting them to do. You know, like have Trump do everything and take the fall for it when he fails. Exactly. And so, yes, this test run is still continuing now, as it's looking like it's going to fail. You know, we've got the Kings, No Kings protests, which are massive this time. Oh, damn. 18 different No Kings protests just here in the state of Utah that is now turned blue because of Trump. And the Utah legislature, who got exposed as trying to con Mormons in Utah. Mormons in Utah have had enough of this government. And Utah is now officially blue. And I've warned Utahns about this, because when Trump finds out from the midterms that Utah is now blue, if he's still alive, which means failure for Easter, more years, yeah, Trump will eventually come into Utah and crush it as the betrayers. And the people will be the ones that get blamed. And then the church says, we told you so. Should have listened to us rather than being an Antifa, furry, terrorist, communist apostate from Venezuela, Cuba, and Canada, and Gaza, etc. Playing both sides, guys. Devil never supports his own. And Freeman, the pure doctrine of Lucifer. Yep. Right there in the temple. Right there in Genesis. Right there in selections from the book of Moses. Lucifer. His doctrine is for women to cover up and hide. That their bodies are a shame and a disgrace. And you need to feel guilty if you show flesh. That's why the church punishes raped victims, punishes women who try to make money the only way that they can on OnlyFans, and the few porn star Mormons that are out there as well. The church is trying to punish them physically, to threaten other Mormons not to pursue that line of work. The church also is invested in the companies that also punish porn, YouTube, ban women for being women. So many channels have been forced to quit or been banned by YouTube. Because the church hates women with a passion. And I don't understand why all of these Nazi identified groups are also Mormon. Why? You knew the Nazis were bad, eventually. What's it going to take until you figure out the church is just as evil, if not worse, to extremist levels? What is it going to take? And so yes, YouTube has made it very clear that they are attacking me for the church. And that incites Mormons against me, as those who do see refuse to allow me to worship my religion. Joseph Smith in the Book of Mormon. Mormons will not allow my religion. They hate so deeply anyone who will not accept their lie about Joseph and the Book of Mormon, that they act just like the church emulates to them, to be pure, evil Satan worshipers. And so they get these compromised entities directly from the orders of the Strengthening Church Members Committee, or indirectly by the talks at General Conference that Mormons hear and emulate, to hate other people, to attack other people. When Benson called, "The enemies of the church know this very well," Mormons then attacked the enemies of the church to defend the church. That was a hate call to action by President Benson. Oaks, likewise, at BYU, put out the hate call to Mormons. Or was it the Burley interview? Do not associate with anyone who doesn't believe like you. That was a call to action by Oaks, and Mormons are obeying. The church finances these corporations. That's a solicitation to commit crime. Social media, the internet, Google, Microsoft, the government, other people. But for Mormons are compromised to the church. You better pay up or we're going to throw you under the bus and falsely accuse you and get you disappeared in a black site location for 6 years of your life. All because you filed a lawsuit against us? Bleep you. You're the terrorist. So, today is the tie for Trump, for the third time now, being the record breaker for a government shutdown. And so, come tomorrow, because they ain't going to fix it this weekend. Trump will again break his own record a third time for the longest federal government shutdown in American history. 43 days today, 44 days tomorrow. And Trump will now be given a new award for breaking a record. 42 days back. Actually, it's today. Yeah, if it's 42 days in 2025, yeah, today he broke the record. And the one from his first term, yeah. Oh, Trump. And he failed, huh? He failed as he caves now to pay TSA. It's still not going to fix the problem. He's still got ICE at the airports now. And now he's claiming to want to pay TSA. He's not going to remove ICE. He's got them there at the airports now. He's not going to take them away. And so, yeah, it's a trap. Even though Trump is looking like he's tacoing out, even though it looks like he's failing, he's still got the backup plan that he's rolling in motion still. But still, it's not happening as it needed to happen before conference, before Easter. Oaks gave us 7 death threats this year instead of 5 for last year. Trump failed last year. Nelson had to humiliate himself by saying we don't know the day and the hour of Jesus is coming, who's failed to show so many dress rehearsals already. No duh. Matthew 7, 3 Nephi 14, church not true. Gotta move on. Gotta lock them up. Execute them for their genocidal terrorism. And so yes, the biggest stock crash since the war began. It's going to get worse, especially as I keep exposing this church and they panic. And so yeah, no protest today. CPAC, they're now chanting impeach Trump, impeach Trump, impeach Trump. CPAC. Huh, great. Yeah, Trump is failing miserably. And everybody is turning on Trump. And remember, he's just a puppet for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. See how the church is getting away with it and Trump isn't? Trump is taking the fall. Trump is the fall guy. And is it Motley Crue or is it Kiss for this one? I think it's Kiss for this one. I was made for love. Yeah, it's Kiss. Knights in Satan's service. But they never said it was. That was an awesome movie. That was well done, former Mormon. They're everywhere! Everywhere! Aaron Eckhart, Dollhouse Girl, who tried to destroy Michael Weatherly on his bull. This is awesome. A psychologist trying to rig courts verdicts called Bull. Classic. And now Google is being sued along with DOJ for the Epstein survivors thing. Yep, there's going to be a mass amounts of lawsuits against the big tech companies and social media companies, and the church is just going to laugh as they pull their stocks. Thank you for the money, guys. The devil never supports his own. And so thank you, Sarah, for the pretty pink. And even Monica, it's an off pink. It's pale pink. Because it's not the white that you wear. But, yeah, I noticed. Told you I noticed, Monica. Girls don't need to be jealous. I'm not picking any one person yet. I know you probably had big dates last night, and I was all alone. So, HB 51. This is why we're bringing up trafficking. Governor Cox finally signed into law HB 51, in which baby trafficking is stopped in Utah. That more government oversight will be involved. They called Utah the hub of baby trafficking. And as I just went over for you in this 2.5-hour video now, we're almost done. We're on the back side of the final page of notes. The church caused it all. The church started it all off from 1970, starting with adoptions. And prior to, it had the other things. And so, yes, before that, they'd just go straight to the asylums, the asylum here in Utah, and then would be buried in an unmarked, unnamed grave, as the baby would be taken and given to a good Mormon family. As masturbators were also sent to the asylum. Pure evil, these Nazis. And so, yeah, this is where I see the missionary from Arizona, returned missionary. But, yeah, I mean, I could do the title of the video instead of what I've got planned, but Bill Maher gets me more views. I'm sure you've heard me talk about how Jesus repented of being racist and is no longer racist since 1978, sort of. Yeah, well, Jesus repented of his baby trafficking in 2014. The church claims they do the will of Jesus. They do their own will and name Jesus as the guilty party for their justification through religious freedom, which they're violating. You can't commit crime to be given freedom of religion rights. It's right there in the Constitution. Oakes knows this as a former prosecutor and a Utah Supreme Court justice. He maliciously is evil, and psychology made him. Right, Mr. Glass? And so, winter is a complete and utter failure for the winter businesses here in Utah. We used to be the biggest snow on earth, or the greatest snow on earth, whatever it was called. Yeah, we didn't even have anything. We had the storms that were quick. We had quickies. Quickies are never satisfying. Except for the guy. Well, the church plays both sides, remember? So as the winter businesses here in Utah got crushed, and more are closing this weekend. The slopes are closing, the winter businesses are closing, and the companies above and beyond the slope industry, ski industry, also have failed. Because when you get people to go up to the slopes, businesses will have their little stores there so that they can go shopping at the stores. Well, if nobody's going up for the slopes, then nobody's going to the stores, and thus the whole business industry collapses. It was a complete and utter collapse and crush because of that. And so as a result, you get these other businesses as a result of the collapse and the drought that is coming. So HVAC companies, they're kicking butt this time around, and we aren't even in the summer yet. The bug companies, yep, they're gonna be lapping it up in the life of luxury. Right, Sarah? All you had to do was go camping with me. That was it. Just camping. That's all. You know, I'm a shy guy. You give me an inch, I'll want to take you a mile, but I'm too shy to do it. I'm a shy guy. Bad Boys 2? Or was it 1? The woman who does the shy guy thing. Probably 1. And yeah, here was an initial title of the video. Trump is a war loser, LDS Church is a money winner. But we're using Bill Maher. And then finally in Hawaii, which I apparently was the only one who covered it because the church didn't want to. Hawaii got submerged underwater. Massive flooding struck the land, especially BYU, Hawaii. And as a result, the church betrayed them and abandoned them. And so Utah Mormons had to go over and help them. But on Hawaii, if you've ever seen Magnum PI, TC runs a tourist helicopter ride. Which is why I went into security guard business, because I was thinking about becoming a private investigator when I told my patriarch. Rather than becoming a basketball player, because my dad said, you're never going to be a sports star. Only 1 out of 1,000 ever get in, and you're not good enough. You're a lazy bum watching TV all day. Yeah. Look how brilliant I am putting all these pieces of the puzzle together. I would have been a brilliant investigator. Right, FBI? Who failed to listen to me? Nonetheless. Yeah, TC's helicopter tour crashed in Hawaii. 3 are dead. It obviously wasn't his. He's a fictional character from a TV show. Could have been by that Mormon. I'd have to check. We can check. We're done. And so, yeah, all of this other stuff we can take off the screen now. Yeah. see anything else. What were these things? Yeah, these are the longest government shutdowns. That's what those were. Yeah. Okay. All right. It's still not ready. Am I still recording, or did they shut me down? Nope, they're still going. Hi, Holly Jane. So yeah, also the news about massage parlors in Utah outnumbering McDonald's restaurants. Then they come out with the OnlyFans thing about Mormon girls. I didn't do a search on Tomato Dashi. What the bleeping hell? So now I gotta go to this other tab and get rid of that one. Google, you suck. And what is it I'm looking up again? I can't remember anymore now. It took so long. Oh, right. Magnum PI. Is it the Glenn A. Larson guy? Come on, Google. Magnum PI. Oh, our systems have detected unusual traffic from your computer. Yeah, you're not allowed to be on the internet, Travis. Bleep you, Google. You're getting sued, and you're still committing crimes. So I am not a robot, mother bleepers. So, Magnum PI. God damn. So this is not good for America. This is a national security crisis that they just caused here. Glenn A. Larson, there he is, Mormon. Yes, I rule you all. And yes, the reboot was awesome. A female Higgins? Oh my God, that gives all new term to Higgy Baby. Yes.